Hello, everybody. Thank you for being patient and sorry for this 1 minute being late. My name is Damian Go, and I'm product manager of the Boldon James solution that today we will talk about it, how the level of classification can improve our quality at the work. Also with me today we have Mateusz Duda, who is our pre-sales engineer, and after my presentation, Mateusz will present Boldon James as a product, the console, and so on. So first of all, Boldon James is an English company with headquarters in United States, and they have strictly cooperation with Microsoft Office included as a main partners, because I think that nowadays more than 90% of people are working on documents created by Microsoft Office. So from my point of view, the labeling and the data classification for those files might be the most important thing in our daily work. What is data and what does it contain to be properly classified? So first of all, the whole things that are included in GDPR, for example, or in HIPAA. So personal data of employees, of co-workers, or for example, when we talk about the data that are included, for example, in hospitals, the data of patients, or the data of just a regular people from, for example, that they are customers in banks, and then all of those customer personal data and so on are included in GDPR. So those data and those files automatically should be under restriction defense, so the data will not leaked outside of company. Also, other things like, for example, invoices or the technology of know-how. If we did not put a pattern to the regular office, so know-how technology, it might be just receipts or patterns of something else. All of things that includes, for example, intellectual property. Then Boldon James will discover all those files thanks to lexical expression, and will help a lot in terms of discovery of what files contains and so on. So the thing that I mentioned, that discovery, so improve visibility into security risk around unstructured data. So first of all, Boldon James will discover all those lexical expressions or other things that we will customize thanks to the console, and create our own policies of what kind of words or numbers should be labeled as data that we should to classify and later on protect, so there will be no data leak. So this is the four-step process. After discovery, we have classification. So when we will finally discover what we need to defend, then we will start our process of classification. Classification files. So we will have a visible markings, labels, and so on every single file, and this labeling will tell us what kind of data might be in specific file. So defining the value of sensitive data and building a security. This is the step number 2. And the step number 3 and 4 is mainly automatically processed by our administration that already customized the product, and later on monitoring is already fully automated by Boldon James. So what is that labeling, what I mentioned, and the classification? So on every file, we will have visible markings and labels about the data that are classified. So for example, non-business files, it would be our docu files, for example, or TXT files that we are working every day, but they has not any business value, or they are not strategic for the company. General business, this label might show to us that some kind of more important data are included in file. Internal only, for example, internal only might be the invoices that we receive from our business partners, and confidential, for example, those files may contain, for example, intellectual property or some kind of, like I said earlier before, know-how, technology, etc. The level of this classification is fully flexible, and we can customize by our own, taking care, of course, about the safety policy that is implemented in every single company, and mostly every company has some other policies that are more restrictable than only, for example, GDPR. So the common question is how many of those classifications we can create. The answer is infinity. But of course, it is not recommended to create infinity numbers of those markings of classification, because later on, our employees may struggle about the level of classification. Should this be classified, for example, at level 37, not 36, or why I need to classify a file by level of 20, not 21, for example. So we want to avoid situations like those. And after our experience and from past in environments, for example, that Boldon James is covering almost 100,000 people. They decided to have 13 levels, as far as I remember, 13 levels of classification. So not much. Less is better. That's what I think, because then our employees will easily know what to do with every single file. Those information about classification are in metadata of every single file. So it would go with bundle with every single DLP system, and they will fulfill each other. So how we can increase business value? From my point of view and from what I've seen, how it works in already deployed environments, IT environments, of course, is reduce business risk by, for example, sending emails, because Boldon James also works with our Outlook agent that is included in Microsoft Office, as well as in Mac environments. So then it would be Lotus agent for sending emails. So when we will try to add an attachment to any email that is classified for only, for example, internal users, then we will not be able to send this file outside of our environment, outside of our company. So first thing is that Boldon James will block any attempts to send confidential informations that are included in any single file. Improving operation efficiency. This is also very important because Boldon James also works with shared environments like SharePoint, for example, or box governance. So when we will deploy any file to SharePoint inside the company, then every single employee will see the labeling and the classification of every file. Automatically, they will know that they can't do something on this file, can't do something like, for example, attaching it to an email and send it further, or they will not have access to this file, or they shouldn't delete it or shouldn't edit this file thanks to this classification. So this is the thing that every single employee will see at the very first look of any file, even the file that they did not know that this file exists actually. Or taking a step backward. For example, mm, when our employee was sending one kind of file all the time and works on this file, and suddenly it's labeled, and for example, it was an Excel file with also, for example, I don't know, 10,000 rows, and suddenly this file is classified for internal only. Then this employee will check out what is in this file that suddenly he can't send this file, for example. And thanks to that, the increasing of user awareness is automatically rising because they are starting to know what data should be protected, uh, or what data are inside this file that now and suddenly we can't do any work with this file outside of our company. So this user awareness of very important data that should be defended, is automatically rising, and automatically the security policies and security controls works. Thanks to that, our IT administrator or any person who is in our company, and his job is to be as a security operation, for example, would be done nearly automatically. So this is the increase rate of have Boldon James deployed on in our environment. I mentioned about only the three modules actually. So I talk about email and general files of Microsoft, like Excel file, Word docu file. But of course, Boldon James cover up full spectrum of Microsoft Office products. So also, for example, PowerPoints, and yet we can go one step forward, and this would be, for example, Microsoft Visio. Visio is included in Microsoft Office Professional version, not Home and Business, and so on and so on. Another important thing is classification of every other single data files that are not included in Microsoft Office, like PDF files or TXT files and so on. What I mentioned, it was SharePoint and box classifier. So those shared internally environments. And another is mobile classifier. Mobile classifier, so we can classify also files on our smartphones. So it works for Android and iOS systems, and we can classify our email that we have on smartphones. So we will know, for example, that some important mails could be sent to us in CC or BCC and so on. And thanks to that, also users, employees, etc., will know that they can't, for example, forward this email because of. And here we got like few points to talk because of, for example, another person in CC or an attachment or directly a text that is included just as a regular text in our email. Exchange classifier will classify for us also emails that are coming to us, so the inbound, and it will also has this classification and labeling of forwarded and resended emails. Also with Exchange, we can block, for example, emails to be not shown on our smartphones. And this is also a nice work by Boldon James, because many of people are not checking the attachment or CC people in email. So we can set up the exchange that, for example, if we will receive an email with classification of level 6 or higher, then this email will not be shown in our smartphone agent of email. We will see this email only on our notebooks or workstations. The little F symbol right before few modules means that those modules, so Office and Mac, like in a mirroring one-to-one, Power Classifier and Notes as email, are strictly involved in Foundation Suite, and the Foundation Suite is the main basis of Boldon James, and other modules we can add whenever we will want to. Okay, from my side, this is the very first step to get into the world of classification. So more you will see just right up in 1 minute, and we will present to you Boldon James how to classify the files, how it looks like, how we can classify our emails. From my side, this is all. If you will have any more questions, feel free to write an email to me. So it's damien.goluch@bacotech.com. I would be more than happy to give you every single answers if you will have about the product, about the functionalities, about the prices, the module of licensing, etc. So thank you for your attendee in here. And now take a look at the technical presentation. Like I mentioned, our pre-sales engineer is also in here. So Mateusz, if you might just take up the mic, and let's start the demo of the product of Boldon James. Thank you.
Thank you, Damien. Hello, everyone. My name is Mateusz Duda, and I'm a pre-sales engineer responsible for the Boldon James product. Just let me share my screen. Okay. So, first of all, I will divide my presentation into the two parts. First one will be the brief console overview, and then we'll get to the real system where I will show you how it works, how to manage the classifications, and so on. So the console is a web console, so you can have as many administrators as you wish. So you can configure different user roles, user permissions for the console. So not each user sees everything, but you can have a read-only, only reporting, only user that have access to a specific policies. So for example, we can set a policy for, I don't know, Poland, for Romania, for Bulgaria, for Czech Republic, and so on. And each of these policies can be administered by a different administrator. Each of those policies, of course, can have a different rule sets applied to them. Also, the policies can be applied to a different users in our organization. So standard user will have a different policy than a CEO, for example. So the CEO will have more flexibility in what are they selecting in terms of the classification, or they will have better privileges when it comes to, for example, sending an emails. Also, we can we can make a rules that touches even like further things than just a user or a group from Active Directory. If we would create a condition, then you can see that the conditions can apply to, of course, some Active Directory or computer values or attributes, but also, for example, a day of week. So people can send their emails from Monday to Friday, but on Saturday and Sunday, when the IT administrators are out or the network administrators are out, they have a limited amount, they have limited possibilities to send emails. And for example, the higher classifications, so confidentials and so on, cannot be sent on the weekends, only on the weekdays. Also, we can check the document content, the document fields, properties, the file attributes, because document is like I would say a Word document or Excel document or I don't know CAD document where we have a specific connector, and file also somehow applies to that, but it also applies to the files that we do not have a connector for. So, for example, graphics. So it can be text files. It can be some, I don't know, RFT files. So made by this Microsoft built-in Word editor. It's a WordPad, if I'm not mistaken, and so on and so on. So there are also rules applied to the message. So it has attachments. It has the number of attachments, the total size of attachments, and so on and so on. So you can create a rules based on many different conditions, and those rules can be uh, warn a user, block a user, show user an additional window if he is sure to if he want to send it, take a justification from a user if he want to send it, help user, for example, if the file he's trying to send is not classified, help a user to classify it. So give him an advice that this file is from this and this location, it contains some data like that and that, so the classification should be this or higher. It can also be done like that. Also, we can force the classification. So I will show it in just a second. Also, the classifications, as I mentioned, can use different sets of the classifiers. So, for example, in my commercial policy, I'm using three classification lists. So there's classification, it's the department, and encrypting. So those three are used in this policy. And for example, in another policy I'm using in my production environment, I'm using completely different set of classifiers. So there's a classification, but there's only document business confidential compared to the seven I've got here, as you can see. And the other list is a receiver. So it is a vendor, partner, customer, or it's a internal message. So I can have a different sets of classifiers in different policies. So I can customize the product as I basically want. Okay, let's jump onto a demo. So I will show how to manage the classifications. So first of all, we can already see the classifications on our desktop. I've got two modules or three modules installed here. The first one is a file classifier. So you can see on the files, there's a little icon in the left bottom corner that's green, that's yellow, that's blue, or it's red. So each of these mm, indicates me that this specific file has been classified, and its classification is in here. It's public. In here, it will be internal, or in here it will be internal. Here it will be secret. In the blue, it will be business, and so on and so on. Also, if I'm hovering over the file, I can already see that there's a bottom line that says classification is a business slash sales. So you can already know what this classification is. Oh, okay. If I would open any of the file that can be edited that has the connector for the classification, the classification will also appear in specific places in this file. So let me open this one, and you can see there's the internal HR, There's on the top in the header classified as internal, on the date this and this. There's on the bottom. We do also have like this additional ribbon on the bottom that will always show you the classification with corresponding color. Yeah, you can have almost as many classification indicators in the file as you wish, but just not to be above some standards. So you can have a watermark in here, some image in the background, some image in the header footer also, and so on and so on. So you can basically prepare what the template of the classification should look like, and it will be displayed like as here. So for example, this is my template, so I know what's the classification, what's the department, and when it was classified. If I would reclassify it right now, so for example, classify it as business sales, you can see that the date changed. So for today dates, yeah, so 11/24 right now. So that is an exact time when it was reclassified. Also, the information about the classification can be placed in the other parts of the file. So it's not only as a visible element like in here in the header, but also if you would go to the file properties, so to the informations, we can see that in the tag section there's a business sales, so it's tagged properly. And also I put those data tags, so it's helpful for example, some DLP solutions to look for the tags. I also placed it in the custom metadata. So in the document properties and in this non-standard, you can see that there's a DLP section in here, and its value, just to expand it, is business sales. So this is exactly the same as this one. So I'm placing the information about the classification in different places in the document metadata or other parameters. Also, why I'm placing it in this format? This format is defined by me also. So my DLP solution will not look for just a business word or just a sales word, because it could generate tons of false positive, but it will look for a specific phrase. So will look for um, a bracket, the star, another bracket, sales, star, bracket. Yeah, so it will look for this pattern, not just a sales. So um, there will be no as many false positive as I could get with just looking for a sales word. Okay, next thing that Boldon James can do is automatic classification. So we can classify a document automatically. So users cannot like drop the classification or lower it to a public level just because they want to send it. If I would save this file, you can see. Okay, there's some problem in here. As I'm trying to save it, you can see that there's an inspection content window. So the classification was unable to apply the suggested classification. At least one label has not been selected. Maybe I have been doing some things on this policy. I will try with another file. Let me try, because this should be, yeah, it should be a copy. So if I'm, yeah, in this works. Maybe though this file is corrupted, or I've changed the policy in the meantime, and some things, and I changed, for example, the names of the classifications. But on this file, as you can see, after saving it, the classification changed to secret HR and today's date. So I didn't have to like select anything. The file was totally unclassified, and the file has changed that's classification itself. And I'm doing it by looking by keywords, I'm looking by regular expressions and so on. And in this case, I'm looking by a keyword called NIP. So it's our Polish VAT ID. So this is it's called it's a VAT ID in Poland. That's how we call it. Yeah, if I would place it in the another file, the outcome will be the same. So if I will try to lower the classification, save it again, as you can see, no way. So the classifier bumps up the classification to at least secret one. Okay, but what if I will try to, for example, I don't know, send an email without the classification? So I'm not putting any classification in an email, and I will try to drag and drop a specific file. So let me refresh it. Okay, so I will drag this file, no classification, and the classification changes to the file's classification. So I will not be able to like send the email without the classification because system will apply it by its own. So there's no possibility to send an unclassified email either. Mm, okay, just let me find an email. It should be like that, if I'm not mistaken. Some topic. Okay, and I'm trying to send that file. Maybe it will work. Okay, the classification got bumped up, but I will try to send it anyway. So here is my policy check, as I said earlier. So this is a block policy check. So I'm not able to send an email with this classification to this specific user. So to the domain bakotech.com, I'm not able to send it, and the policy resolution shows me that the email md@bakotech.com is an email that's not allowed actually. Okay, so as I'm not mistaken, my Gmail account should be legible, and I will add one more email just to see what will happen. Okay, if I will trying now to send the email to those three email addresses, and I'm clicking send. Okay, still the policy check, still there are some unallowed recipients, but there's only one unallowed recipient in there. So only md@bakotech.com is the one who is not allowed. If I would add, for example, a Damian who is on our call also, tgo.bakotech.com, okay, and I will try to send it now, you will see that there are two emails that are not allowed. So MD, so this is me, and Damian is also not allowed because he's also in the Bakotech .com domain. If I would remove it, I can click remove the unallowed recipients. They are automatically deleted from the to field, and now I can send that email. So I can send it to the both Mateusz to Gmail and Mateusz at business. So I'm clicking send, yeah, and the mail goes off. Okay, if I would look at our send, you can see that there I've also got some policies that apply the markings to that email. So you can see there's the poofna, the secret on the top, and the bottom marking. So this message is marked as poofna, do not distribute to third parties without a manager approval, and so on and so on. So I can fully customize the emails too, and they're not the emails marking must not be the same as the word marking, because in Word I've got when I will and when I classified it and so on, so it was much longer. In here I've just got one word that it's secret, and that's it. Okay, I guess that's everything from my side that I wanted to show today. So, Devin, I'm passing the voice back to you, and I'm passing the screen if you would like to share something at the end of our presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mateusz, for the presentation. No, I think we are good. So just to confirm, if any of you of attendees will have any further questions, or maybe you would like to have a session one-to-one to get with more granular and more deep functionalities of Boldon James, then just feel free. You can write to me an email whenever you will have time. I'm writing to you also in here on chat to remind you my email address. So if you like to know better Boldon James solution as a data classification top classificator in the market, then just go ahead, give me a sign, and we will schedule a meeting one-to-one also with Mateusz to do the more granular presentation. Thank you for your today attendees. And what more I can tell? Have a lovely rest of the day, and I hope that we are still in touch. See you guys. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye bye. Have a nice day.